about to take it back.
Okay.
Talking Loud Podcast. It's always Diesel, dog. And guys, we're back for another episode. Because it's Talking Loud Podcast and it's always Diesel, dog. Guys, let us know what's going on. Let us know if you guys are hearing audio, video, everything's good. But we got a very special guest with us today because a lot of you know feeding is super important. And if you overfeed or underfeed, you could end up in a world of problems. Your plants can die within 24 hours. Trust me, it's happened to me before, so I know. So today on the show, to talk about it and break it down, we've got the jug dealer himself, my homie, New Millennium, Jaron. What's going on, bro?
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me, man. This is great. You got a dope studio in here. I'm excited to get in here, chop it up a little bit. Burn a few with you, and yeah, just fucking enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, man, most definitely, bro. I'm looking forward to it as well, man. You got a bunch of different flowers here. You got a bunch of concoctions. We got a ton of J's rolled up and all sorts of stuff, man. And we're going to break down everything when it comes to the local jug dealer himself. But before we get into any of that, man, Jan, tell me what's been going on, man. You've been on the show already, but it's been a while since we connected, bro.
It has been a while since we connected. And obviously last time we just did it remotely. So this is really fun to always be in studio. I think it's always, a lot more and a lot more fun and easier to connect with people when you're there and not doing it over line. But anyhow, no, it's great, man. We've been cranking over at New Millennium. We've been doing a lot of expansion. We've got a lot of new stuff that's coming out. We've got some scientific stuff. We got a few things we'll talk about, later about kind of what's new and weird over there. Been back on the road as well. Was just in California. Was just in Florida. Was telling you I did a trip down to Colombia. Went down there for the Caribbean Cup. Shout out to Cutting Edge. They invited me down and went down to Colombia, and that was an amazing experience. So yeah, man, kind of been here, been there, been everywhere, and just jug dealing coast to coast.
Jug dealing coast to coast. You guys got to support your local jug dealers. So definitely check out New Millennium, see what they got going on. They got a ton of great stuff going on, and they got some new products as well, man. If you guys know, we had some guests on the show before growing that fireflower and using New Millennium newts. So definitely check out what's going on, man. And as always, this is a live Q&A, guys. So drop your questions down in the comments below. Let's see what we can answer for you guys, see how we can help you guys out in your grow room. It's always great to help you guys out. And of course, I got to shout out the ICANN fam, man. Everyone that's in the chat, if you watch it afterward, the ICANN fam. The ICANN VIP Bean Club is popping, man. You guys definitely join up. We got tons of new genetics going out to all VIPs. Be part of the fam. Support the fam. Mailboxes burning down everywhere, man. And if you want to support the channel again, like I always say, just cop a Diesel Dog t-shirt, a hoodie, a hat. These things go a long way. The channel is not monetized. No, YouTube doesn't like channels like ours. But let's get into it, man. Jaron, what you got going on, bro? Other than you told me you were down in Colombia recently.
I was.
How was that, dude?
Colombia was awesome. It was incredible. I think that naturally Colombia gets a little bit of a rough reputation. Still kind of has that same. Everybody thinks it's a rather outlaw place, but in truth, man, as far as the cannabis community went, a really loving, a really open, a really interested cannabis community, and I found that really, really welcoming. They're into, the new strains. They're into some of the old strains. The mountains right outside of Santa Marta is where the original Hayes stuff came from. That's where the Hayes brothers went. Was Santa Marta, Colombia, and the Sierra Nevada mountains, I believe, right there outside of Santa Marta, Colombia, right on the Caribbean coast. So, there's a lot of history there. And I did find it refreshing that there wasn't a lot of split smoking that went on. They were all smoking pure, which I know, depending where you go around the world, it's like, man, you go to Spain, it's like, geez, it's smoky in here. And you realize like it's a lot of tobacco. So
tons of tobacco.
You go to Europe. I mean, especially you go to Cannabis, which I was out in Cannabis this year. Cannabis, UK, Amsterdam, everywhere you're out there, you definitely see a lot of split smoking. So to me, when you don't see as much split smoking, and I don't mean to be, judgmental or compartmentalized at all, because there's plenty of people that are really, true weed and cannabis connoisseurs that do consume with tobacco, because culturally that's just how they started. And you know what I mean? It's a lot to get people, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks sometimes. but I tend to find more connoisseur communities that are consuming pure, yeah. And I think just naturally, if you're really going to get into the terpene and flavonoid profiles and really, open up. Now, one thing I will say, shout out to Mark at Grandiflora Genetics. One thing he said to me one time was, he's like, and he always smokes blunts, right?
Yeah.
And the guy really breeds and grows some incredibly flavorful weed. But he goes, look, man, if I can taste it through a blunt wrap, I know it tastes good. And I was like,
true.
So, even sometimes when you do smoke those spliffs and it's like, oh my God, this tastes really, really good, man, that must be some really tasty weed.
Yeah, it is true, man. Definitely. And I found personally, I like smoking through J's and I like papers and I rip that glue off because I want to get that max taste. So for me, it's all about the taste. So guys, let us know what you guys think. Do you guys like smoking in J's? Do you guys smoking in blunts? Do you guys mix it with tobacco? Do you like it pure? It's always interesting to find what people do, right?
Yeah. And reality is, there's no wrong way to do it, and I say that, people are like, oh, do you dab? Do you eat edibles? Do you do this? I say, look, man, at the end of the day, I am equal opportunity. Okay. And
100%.
and look, meaning like straight up, dude, I will smoke swag if I have to, you know what I mean? If I'm somewhere on a beach, which fortunately, speaking of that, you don't have, you actually can get, better cannabis really all over the world now. Yeah. It's really quite amazing. And I've been following the cannabis trail, around the world. Haven't got over to Thailand yet, but some of our products have been over there and been promoted over there. And, we will, we always kind of like to see what's going on before we go full bore into there. Thailand being a great example of that, but we've been, pushing full bore into Europe. I've been working some stuff into South Africa as well. Obviously I was poking around down in South America. So, not only jug dealing coast to coast, but jug dealing worldwide.
Worldwide, baby.
Worldwide
jug dealers.
So it's good.
That jug is spelled J-U-G, right? Yeah. Because we deal in these jugs.
Yeah, dealing jugs.
Dealing jugs, baby.
Jugs.
That's jugs. Don't get it confused. Jug. This is a jug. Like how you guys got a jug of lemonade and a jug of orange juice. We got
a jug of juice, baby. Jug of juice.
So you guys definitely check that shit out, see what's going on, man. And I'm super excited to find out what you guys are growing because we got a great poll in the chat right now, Jaron, where we ask people, how do you guys feed your plants? Right, and the options are organic, synthetics, and Synganics. And right now, 50% are organic, synthetics are 20%, and Synganics are 30%. So
interesting.
To show that a lot of people are mixing the two lately, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I've seen more and more of that. I mean, I will say, full disclosure, I am a Synganic guy. New Millennium in general is more of a Synganic line. So you got about 60% synthetic, 40% organic. Some products are more organic than others. Specifically like the Carbonaria, the Lightning Start, things like that are very highly organic. If not, I mean, honestly, those could be registered organic, but that becomes a little bit of a pay to play scenario that, being the independent that we are, we kind of just don't play those corporate games. Yeah. So respect. But no, we definitely have, we're using both sides, and I like to call it a meeting of the worlds, or, a meeting of the minds, if you will, best of both worlds scenario. So that being said, people that are 100% organic, we've got, great products for them. We've got products for people that are, going 100% synthetic. So, or in the middle, really doesn't matter. And I think even with, what we've seen a lot of, and a lot of changes of in the last specifically, really starting, I guess, in 2012, when Colorado started going legal, we saw a beginning of a movement out of the basements and into the warehouses. So and whether that's good or bad, I'm not here to make that argument, but I am saying that it's what I'm seeing. It's what I see around the country, around the world. Yeah. And when you really talk about something becoming a truly, horticultural product, it will even at some point move more even towards agronomy, in the sense that you will see some field crop situations. Yeah. We kind of saw that the hemp boom and bust a little bit, but that's really, in my mind, more of a processing aspect. It's like, okay, we can grow all this hemp, but then like, oh, it turns out we don't do any manufacturing here. We don't do any textile work here. We don't even have the mechanization to properly harvest it, too labor intensive for what it needs to be in agronomy. And the difference between agronomy and horticulture, which really is a fine line. Yeah. And in fact, the same plant can be a horticultural plant or an agronomic plant. Example being field corn versus sweet corn. Yeah. Sweet corn being, more inputs and more human involvement, right? Same plant, but corn. But even cannabis can be treated like that too, right? So the difference between, more of an industrial plant like hemp or a THC, which would be more of a horticultural plant, which we are seeing, which historically was grown indoors, and that was really in part due to the paraquat spraying that was done throughout Mexico and Central and South America in the 70s. And so that's why a lot of people started actually bringing it, doing it at home. They weren't trusting the sources that they were able to get it from for a long time. And that's really why and when indoor production started at all. So nobody really wanted to produce indoors. You know what I mean? But that's kind of where we ended up. And that's really where the modern breeding revolution started. And again, whether that's good or bad, not the argument here. There's wonderful heirloom genetics, but I like to make this point because of selection pressers. And okay, so talking about these hazes, right? Beautiful hazes, wonderful hazes that are equatorial, grown in the mountains, so higher resin because they were getting a little more UV than something that would be, let's say, a little bit more down, lower elevation. So you're kind of getting a little bit of the best of both worlds, right? But can you expect to be able to take that indoors and get the same expressions?
So true. It's actually really interesting that you say that. And shout out to funks.org because he dropped an interesting question. Well, not even a question, more as a statement. It kind of meshes with what you're saying. He says synthetic inside, synganic outside. So, I mean, like, how does one know what's better to grow inside versus outdoors? Because the things have been going on outdoors for so many years. Dude.
Yeah. But we also have to look at it in that, things do change, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, how do we take outdoors indoor? And I mean, one of the nods that we do at New Millennium is that if you look at it, we've got equinox, spring, summer, autumn, right?
Yeah.
Equinox essentially being your micro. You could also call it we just call it equinox. Well, the spring is early veg, summer mature veg, autumn is for flower.
Yeah.
So what we were trying to do is mimic what's going on in the soil colloid outside as the soils warm up in the spring through the summer and then cool back down again in autumn. So what we were trying to emulate is what was available elementally from a soil and a rhizosphere standpoint, knowing that we were going to be turning around and doing it indoors, right? But that's understanding that we're doing it indoors, but how can we do as much? How can we emulate as much as possible? And one of the ways that, that Neil and New Millennium and that thought process went is, okay, if I can elementally mimic it, you know what I mean? Knowing that a lot of the other changes are going to be there, So part of what I say is what's the best is truly like, what are your goals? I mean, because you could do anything from, doing it. I know like Scotty and the dude, Grow Show have been doing grow dots, right? So you have anything from like the lowest, most like basic level of just add water, all the way up to I could give you a 10 bottle system, you know what I mean? And give you a lot more grower control, but it really depends on, to me, what are your goals? So for me, my goals are phenotypic expression and genetic potential, and we don't necessarily know what these things are. We don't know what genetic potential is. We don't know, but we know that's what we're shooting for. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those, you're shooting for the moon, but if you miss, you're still among the stars. Like that's kind of what we're doing.
I always say that. Shoot for the moon, so if you fail, you land among the stars.
Yeah, you're good. Like you're totally good. You're still high as hell. So I like to think about it. And even like when it comes to like a breeding program or anything, it's like, what is your goal? If you start a breeding program with no goal, that's not really, you're not really, and I know people probably attack me for this, but I'll say that means you're not really breeding. Kind of, and even in my mind, pollen chuck all you want with a goal in mind. And the thing is, and the reason you do that, because it's going to keep always centering you back where you started. And if you need to change that goal or that hypothesis or whatever, and these are, basic scientific principles that we're talking about, that's fine to go back and readjust your hypothesis. That's fine to go, oh, well, that didn't work exactly like I thought it was, or that's not the expressions, or maybe I need to do another back cross, or whatever the hell it happens to be.
True.
When it comes to how you feed and whatever, it's like, what's your space that's available? How much labor are you willing to put in? I remember I got into a discussion one time with a guy, hardcore organic guy, right? Hardcore organic guy. And let me be real honest. Let me be super honest with you guys. I have a degree in horticultural food crop production. I ran organic food farms. That's what I was doing before cannabis kind of happened, right? And so I've got more respect for the soil food web, or as much, shouldn't say more, as much respect for the soil food web as anybody. You know, Jeff Lowenfels is a personal friend of myself and the company. So I don't want to get attacked, you know, on the organic level. Like, I'm there, love it, guys, right? But again, it's, you know, for me, it is making certain things available immediately, and then also having that residual quality over time. And for me, indoors, Synganics has always been, you know, the way to get to that phenotypic expression, genetic potential. Anyhow, back to what I was saying. So I had a guy, I was in a shop. This is a East Bay, California, which California can be pretty opinionated when it comes to cannabis and where things came from and yada, yada, yada. Well, this guy's a hardcore organic guy. Yeah. And he went through this whole thing about how, you know, it's too many bottles. It's this, he mixes all this stuff. And I said, okay, cool. I said, how much time does it take you to cook down all your stuff and put all these elements? He's like, oh, it's a lot of work. I said, yeah, cool. Bro. So I don't have to do that work. It's already in the bottle. Okay. I got the jug, bro. It's done for you. So now, if you're willing to put in that work and it's a labor of love, and that's part of your hobby, then guess what? It doesn't cost you any money. Yeah. And I know that time is money, but if it's your hobby, then it's not really the monetary aspect is eliminated in some way. Yeah. Okay. Really, but if you travel or do whatever, or are doing things for a different reason, and you want to take that part out of the labor aspect out of it, yeah, you do have to pay for it, by the way. Yeah. Here's kind of your shortcut to it. And he conceded to that, by the way. He's like, damn, okay, like I totally understand what you're saying, number one. And number two, he was like, and I've never grown weed like you grow. So yeah.
Mic drop.
Yeah, so take it for what you want. But you know, again, for me, it's like, what to use is like, what are your goals, man? Yeah. Like, what are your goals? What are your goals? And you know, and guess what? Different genetics are going to respond differently. I mean, so I you know, I'm in Fort Collins, been you know, for quite some time, and you know, the old school cough that was up there. Yeah, yeah. It not only the cut used to come, and actually this Professor P, Dynasty Genetics, shout out to those guys out in the Pacific Northwest. Great guy. I've known him for a long time. But he was saying, and he literally has had the original Foco cough for like over 30 years. True. Brought straight out from Fort Collins. I mean, one of the oldest holders of the real deal. But yeah, and don't go hitting him up for it, guys. He ain't giving it to you. Not get that. He said the original cut came with directions. It came with directions. Came with directions. Bro, what? Yeah, so it was like, this is the nutrient program that you run with it, which was originally age old. And the region was because age old is very high in magnesium, from what I understand. Okay. And so it just so happened to be a real horror for magnesium. Now, cannabis is a hyperaccumulator of heavy metals anyway, which is a pretty well-known fact. Yep. So anyway, it was a real, you know, starving for magnesium, of which age old had a bunch with it. So to get that thing to even perform, not only did it come, now where was it also selected under? Well, it's almost undoubtedly selected under HPS lighting. Absolutely. So now you're telling me you got that nutrient program, you've got HPS lighting, and now I'm going to take it, put it under a different nutrient program and different lighting, and expect the same outcome. Not happening. And that literally, if we were expecting that to happen, that would be somehow that we broke the definition of phenotype, and I'm telling you, we haven't, because phenotype is genotype plus environment with nutrients and lighting and all the other things being part of that environment equals phenotype. So, you know, that's and I've been talking with a lot of people recently, you know, about that. So I would even say that's the other thing coming into your goals. If you want to run older school strains, you know, that may even, like, a lot of them won't take the food that some of this newer stuff will take. True. Like, they'll just get burnt out. Like, so, you know, sometimes having something that's more of a slow release type of system, or maybe a soil based system, because that's the other thing. When I first got into this, predominantly it was hand fed in soil or peat. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Right. With very few nutrient companies. Yeah. So, and again, that was a selection pressure. You know, that was like, we didn't think of it like that. For sure. Yeah, because it was just the process, you know. Right. It was what was available. It was like straight up what was like out there. Like so default. Yeah, I mean, and you know, like literally originally it's like, you know, you just couldn't get that many brands, and that's why you had, you know, the Fox Farms, the GHs, the age olds that took off that you'd even find in lawn and garden centers that weren't necessarily just in traditional hydroponic shops, which unfortunately, you know, those type of shops in the old school barbershop, you know, is disappearing. Hell, even Way to Grow Fort Collins just closed recently. Bro, did you hear that? No, I didn't. Yeah. And that, I mean, so I used to work there, and it's been there over 20 years. That was the original Way to Grow. I mean, so it's it's an interesting, and that this kind of like even segues back to what I said about, it really starting in basements and it going heavily into, into warehouses, and eventually you'll see it more and more go into greenhouses and even onto some level into field crop production, because it's going to be a price per unit, and it's going to have a heavy labor consideration. And forever, when the unit price was very high, the labor aspect doesn't really matter. And in fact, back in the day, if you ask somebody what is this price per unit, they'd go, "What are you talking about?
Like, what does that even mean?
What does that even mean?"
Yeah,
now, if you don't know, especially if you're a commercial producer and you don't know what it costs you to produce a unit, you're probably not in business anymore.
Yeah, literally. That's a great point. And man, you touched on a lot of great things. I'm seeing so many great questions actually.
Okay, let's take some questions. Sorry, I've just been ripping along.
No, dude, it's
I'll
all
just light
good. It's all good. It's all good. And you got a massive J or something you rolled up there, so let's definitely get on into it, man. But what I did want to say is that a lot of people have been getting into, the Synganic side of stuff.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You've got some fantastic flower here, dude. Like, I'm talking like,
thank you.
4 different strains. He came up to me, he was like, "Man, I got this cocktail, Matt. It's a cocktail of all sorts of different stuff." And I was like, "It smells fucking amazing." I thought it was one, but it was a bunch of different strains. But honestly, Synganics, I found the best of both worlds. And some people in the chat are asking, like, where or how do I learn how to do Synganics? And it's really easy. But before I actually get into that, you guys got to smash the like. We got 200 people tuned in. We need to have at least 200 likes. So, Jaron, ask them where the likes at.
Where the likes at, folks? Bring the likes in. Bring the likes.
Feed the like button, man.
Feed. Ding, 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 ding. Come on.
Literally. But anyway, man, for sure, learning Synganic as Surfson is saying is really simple. For me, I found it really easy just to start off with a base with some sort of organic base, something simple. You can even go like Fox Farm Ocean Forest, something like that, something real simple. And then you get yourself some Synganic, some synthetic nutrients, something like some of the New Millennium stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's the Fulvitech, or sorry, Ruby Fulvic. We have the Fulvitech as well, but that's some synthetics.
The Winter Frost. A lot of people finish with this.
A lot of people finish with that. That's
flowers.
Yep. Historically, the gateway jug is Winter Frost, used in conjunction with Ruby. The gateway jug. We're jug dealing here, so this is the gateway, folks. Reason being, though, too, it's super easy to put in. You can take what already you're doing right now. It's used as a pre-flush. It's only used right there at the end of flower. You get more oil, more color, more individualization in your strains. And that's one of the reasons why I even like to bring the multiple strains is it's like I could bring just the best one. But what I want to show is that it really does help with that expression of what morphologically is within the genetics of that plant. It helps it bring it out. It doesn't take one brush and paint the whole garden like certain products do.
Absolutely, man. And what I would say, guys, is the truth is in the pudding. The growers use it, and growers have come on the show. Check out Love of the Sticky Nugs. He's been on the show, and he's just a regular grower like you and me. He grows some beautiful flowers, and he put me onto Winter Frost. He put me onto Winter Frost, and he does a great friggin' job, man. So definitely check him out. Check out their flowers, but also check out New Millennium because they got some great stuff going on. Check out their Instagram page. They also are doing some great stuff on the podcast as well. So let's just pivot into that real quick because you guys dropped a great episode where you guys are actually breaking down, not only some of the New Millennium products, but you all guys also talk about like lighting and also.
Because obviously for those who don't know, New Millennium is distributed through 5/8 distribution here in Denver. And so they've got a couple other elite brands as well. Cyatetics being one of them that we kind of touched on a little bit, but there's a base program, both liquid and salt, along with some additives that are very much driven towards commercial production. We've got the full New Millennium line, which is geared towards connoisseur production. We've got Dutch Lighting Innovations, which is a high-end lighting brand out of Holland. So shout out to DLI. Everything's designed in Holland, manufactured in Holland. We've had Jair. You'll see Jair on the show too. That show might have already been dropped, but we also just kind of revamped our podcast room. We rebranded it. It's the Jug Dealers Podcast website. Stay tuned for. We're going to start running a lot of stuff through there, giveaways, all kinds of fun stuff. We've always got, the Jug Dealer shirts, hats, gear, all that sort of stuff. So pay attention, come over, see us over there as well. And same kind of thing. We're always out there. I love the format where it's very open and people have an ability to ask questions. I mean, really, we're here for the people. A lot of people do podcasts for different reasons. The reason we do it is to connect with the people, give us a pipeline to answer questions, give us an ability to, get our stuff in front of people that we wouldn't normally be able to.
Yeah, most definitely, man. You guys are doing some great stuff. So definitely shout out to you guys. Check them out on YouTube, man. Give them a fam, give them a sub, and let them know the ICANN fam is out there supporting the game, man. And
Absolutely.
as Tonic once says, Colorado's killing the game for real, man. That's what's up. We always like to see that, right?
Yeah, we're doing all right. You know, we've been holding it down. I mean, it's definitely you know, it's crazy when we clicked over 10 years. It was like, holy crap, you know, and last year was like, this has been legal here for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know,
It's almost like a decade.
a
bro.
decade.
It's
We
crazy,
got
eh?
you know, decade plus. Here we go. Let's keep
Yeah.
it rolling.
That's what's up, man. So, guys, we're also going to do a live giveaway for you guys. We got some fantastic products. Jaron literally came in with like a whole box of stuff for you guys just to show love, man. So, Jaron, thank you so much for that.
Absolutely,
man.
my pleasure.
Appreciate it. You know, just wanted to show love for you guys, man. We're always happy to give back to you guys. And personally, I've been getting into the Synganic side of things a lot lately because for me, like you said, organics is great in that. And I've started off organic, man. Don't get me wrong.
I did too.
Actually, no, I started off with Fox Farm, the trio.
Yep.
Farm True. That's what I started off with. And I didn't like that. And then I went to the organic side of stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to mix a bunch of organic inputs.
Sure.
But then I was like, okay, I'm not getting the results that I want. I'm getting the taste, but not necessarily the results. Just because like I'm finding myself with slight deficiencies that I need to then remedy and stuff like that, man. It's just not as easy to remedy those issues. So
Very true.
I've literally moved into like a Synganic side of growing. And also I love the fact that I can be a little more hands off now that I have like a blue mat setup, you know, or automatic drips irrigation system, anything like that. You can really just have a res, and that way you don't have to necessarily hand mix nutrients every single day. So,
and I think that stability is really, really important for indoor production. I think when you're talking about putting a plant outdoors and it is forced to deal with, you know, diurnal temperature variation and wind and sun and rain and all these things, they, you know, they're plants. They're amazing, right?
Literally.
They're autotrophs. They make their own food. You know, evolutionarily speaking, they were here before us and they'll be here after us. So even us calling ourselves growers is a really ignorant statement, everybody. We don't grow shit. We are plant janitors at best. So keep that in mind. They grow themselves. They grow themselves. That's it. But by giving things like, you know, really giving it standard and consistent irrigation and giving it consistent pH and consistent nutrient programs and things like that, you know, that's one of the ways that I have found that I can really crack in again that genetic potential. You know, really say, hey, I'm giving you an easy life. Essentially, I'm taking care of shit. Do you know? And I think again with that Synganic approach where you have residual quality with the organics. Because here's the thing. Okay, so let me just break down, if people don't mind, for a second.
No, you're good, man.
Salts. What is a salt?
That was actually what I was going to ask you because a lot of people are confused about exactly what salts are. So
let's talk about two things. Let's talk about what is a salt, and let's also talk about what is organic. There's two things I think get a little bit bastardized and not necessarily totally understood. Yes. Okay. So a salt, by definition, and this is a chemical term. This is a chemistry term. A salt is anything, any molecule that readily disassociates in water. So what do we call salt that we know that's in our life? Table salt. What is table salt? Table salt is NaCl. When you put it into water, it disassociates into its ionic form of Na plus and Cl minus. And that's why electroconductivity works, because electroconductivity is putting a small little shock into the solution, and it's going from plus to minus, plus to minus, plus to minus, and it tells you how many ions are in there. It's also why it's not telling you truly, it can't tell you organically what food is going to be there in the future, because they're not in salt form yet. So an electroconductivity or a ppm meter for that reason, although I don't like ppms, folks. Stick with EC. That's the scientific standard. But anyway, that's my little bitch there. Soapbox moment. So that's what a salt is by definition. So if you were adding things in salt form, whether they're a dehydrated salt or a hydrated salt. So again, that's something that I think that's also misconstrued. So dehydrated salt would be something that we know commonly as any salt, just base salt grow, whether it's Maxi Bloom, Maxi Grow, Athena, Front Row, any of these, right? That's a dehydrated salt. So obviously you still have to hydrate that before it goes in, and then once it goes into solution, it disassociates into its ionic forms and it's uptakeable by the plant. Okay. Now, if it's something like GH, cutting edge, Cyatetics, things like that, right? Those have been pre-hydrated. And obviously that's some of the people's problems is that, oh, well, you know, you're paying for water to be shipped and things like that. I can't even say that they're completely wrong about that. But what I can say is that there's certain technologies, biostimulants, chelation technology, et cetera, that you can't just have in a dry. right?
Yeah.
So that's where, liquids do come into play. And again, it kind of goes back to that original thing, like, what is your goal? What's the size of the grow? Like again, start with a goal, and that's going to really help drive what makes sense, on the nutrients that you're using is going to give you the ROI, the return on investment that you're desiring. So let's say, on the other hand, rather than using a immediately available hydrated or dehydrated salt, so we've kind of broke that all down, right? You want to use an organic nutrient. You want to put something that's organic. Well, that still has to be processed into an inorganic plant available form. Okay. Yeah. So that's got to be microbially processed. Okay. And the way that happens is, so let's say nitrogen, for example, it's actually eaten up by the microbes initially. Yeah. And then as the microbes die off, the nitrogen becomes available. It's actually where the plant gets its nitrogen. A lot of people say that like the plant shit it out, or the microbes shit it out. Not true at all. What actually happens is they gobble it all up. So let's say on a field level, this is where your nitrogen's at, but you want it to be up here. Yeah. Well, when you put it in, it actually goes down significantly, and then over time ends higher, because all the microbes grab it up immediately, munch it up, and where they find it in and where the plants end up getting is, once they die, they get it in their nitrogenous bases. They get it out of their DNA and RNA after the microbes have died. Kind of interesting stuff. Maybe a little bit nerdy for some people, but I find that kind of shit very interesting.
Makes a lot of sense, dude. And I think that breaks it down because a lot of people are like, okay, salt's bad. But that's so like prehistoric and stupid.
Well, and to be fair, they're going to be taken in an inorganic plant available form, which is an ionic form. They're not going to be taken in, as these organic molecules. The plant can't take it. That's not how it works. And in fact, part of that's because the only two ways that nutrients are uptaken is by mass flow and diffusion. And mass flow is anything that's water soluble, which is only nitrogen, which is why nitrogen can burn plants. The other things you can throw off your ratio, so you lock things out. Yeah. But reality is all other macro and micronutrients are moved by diffusion, which is a chemical process. Yeah. And it's an exchange process through the soil colloid, which is why you have what's called cation exchange capacity. Yeah. And that just means how much a substrate can hold. Certain substrates are very low CEC. Some substrates are very high CEC. Yeah. But it's an exchange process, and it's all done via electrons. And that's the same way that a plant even communicates with itself is with calcium and iron specifically, which is Ca2 plus Ca3 plus, and iron Fe2 plus Fe3 plus. So again, this is all chemistry stuff. And by the way, it's about as far like I did okay in organic chemistry. Not great, okay? So I don't claim to be.
I dropped out of chemistry.
Yeah, I do not claim to be any kind of expert.
Like you.
I don't. So but again, so even talking about what's even organic and what's not organic. Organic means it's carbon based. If you talk about the definition, it's carbon based. Inorganic means it's not carbon based. So when these things go in that are carbon based, they have to be broken up into ionic form, separated from the carbon to become plant available. So there is a processing period. So that's why, in a lot of ways, especially when you're dealing with an annual plant, right? That's why you want to have that high level of availability. Because let's say you have something that, you could have a soil that's chock full of all this wonderful stuff, but hasn't been cooked long enough. Nothing's even available for it enough. All of a sudden now it's deficient. Or let's say you grew too big a plant in too small a pot, not enough stuff in it. So what was available in there is gone now.
Great point.
So two things. So I will say we do have a lot of people that run organics with the winter frost on the end, because typically people don't underpack. They overpack their nutrients in there, and then they don't get the fade that they'd like to see. Because also a plant, if you can't tell the microbes to stop. Yeah, it's just the plants that process. If it's in there, which is different in, like, let's say Rockwool or cocoa or these things, you can flush out, or you can do some manipulation of the cations that are in there. But if it's something where you're going to the full organic situation, you can't just turn the microbes off, right? So plants are going to stay greener typically a lot longer than people would like to or accustomed to. Winter frost can come in and help initiate that senescence and get that process going. So keep that in mind. One of the things I pride ourselves at, what we've developed at New Millennium or Scientetics or any of the other things that we distribute is, we've got something for everyone. If you want to go all the way in one direction or all the way in the other direction, no problem. And we take a very additive based approach where it says, hey, what are you doing? What are your goals? How do you like doing things? Because I think it's very tough for anybody to go in and just change everything. You know, and when I deal with people that are in commercial production, that's not a very easy way to sell shit.
It's not. They don't want to hear about it.
Well, you can't. And to be fair with you, even the person that's out there writing the checks, they're going to say, "Are you nuts?"
Yeah,
Ain't happening.
Literally, that is exactly because a lot of people miss that point. Like, there's someone writing those checks up there behind the curtains, behind the
And
scenes.
typically, it's not the head grower.
Exactly.
Newsflash.
And they want to be like, "What the fuck am I paying for this shit for?" You know. But that's a great thing that you mentioned, man. You guys got such a great span of products. You guys can see them all around me. A lot of people are dropping some great questions, so I just want to answer one of them by Mr. Awesome Badass. Shout out to Mr. Awesome Badass as well, man. Great grower as well. Great fan of the channel, huge subscriber, and I'm really supportive of him, man. And anyway, he says, if I were to buy if he wants to buy his first jug of New Millennium, which one should he start with? He wants to become one of the jug dealers.
Oh, you want to get on the team, huh?
Yeah,
All right. I would say, and again, calling it the gateway jug, unless, back up a little bit. Depending on how he's growing currently. If he were growing all organic, I would have an answer in one way.
Okay.
And if he was growing in some other way, I might have an answer different way. But in general, I would say Winter Frost, the gateway jug. Super easy to put into your current program. Use the second to last week. You'd use it with Ruby if you had it, but it's not necessary to activate it or anything. Ruby's just a multi-source fulvic acid that's going to maximize uptake and efficiency of any nutrient line that it's used with. So that's why we have it used with Winter Frost as well.
Yeah.
But again, you're initiating that senescence process. Natural ripening process is going to happen in any annual plant. We just get to have that grower control and say now. So I don't have any with me right now, but I grow GMO in tenths, and I'm able to do it and take it down in less than 9 weeks. And I challenge anybody else out there, and I do that with two. I don't have the decision here, but essentially I do that with two products. A decision, which is a bloom initiator from New Millennium. It just helps get through the transition zone faster. It reduces some stretch, just gets flower set going much faster. And you're basically, week 2 starts looking like, week 2 starts looking like week 3, week 3 like week 4. It's like all of a sudden you're like a week ahead of time, because if you think about it, there's really at minimum 3 growth periods, not 2. It's not veg and flower, it's veg, transition, and flower.
Truth. A lot of people miss that.
A lot of people miss that. So even keeping a little bit of nitrogen, like maybe even mixing in a little bit of your veg newts base wise early flower, nothing wrong with that. And if you think about it, like in nature, it's only clicking down maybe 2, 3, if it's in a really far northern latitude, maybe 5 to 7 minutes a day, something like that. So for us to go, it's 18 hours yesterday and 12 hours today. Of course the plant's freaking out. Yeah.
Like, how did that happen? It was, it's a transition.
The phytochrome red and far red, which are the hormones that are basically taking account of what the hell's going on for photo period, are going, huh?
Big facts.
So that's why you do have that kind of and really aggressive stretch that you'll see indoors with some plants going, even 2 to 3 times. Well, one of the ways we can do that is just getting through the transition zone faster with a product like Decision. Gotcha. And then, of course, on the backside, to really get things actually finished, to get trichomes, get them amber, to get that flush, to bring those colors out that we like to see, those beautiful fall colors, those purples, reds, yellows.
Colors, None of the sticky nugs gets that, literally, bro, with that Winter Frost. That Winter Frost. He put me on this, guys. He put me on game. I've been a team member of the Jug Dealer team ever since, dude. I'm happy to be a Jug Dealer fan, man. But also on the note of the Winter Frost, man, because a lot of people are asking about that. Mrs. K's Garden, always tuned in. Shout out to Mrs. K's Garden. Much love.
Hello, Mrs. K.
Hello. She's saying, can you use Winter Frost with organic soil?
Thank you so much. Wonderful question. That's kind of why I even was like, well, it kind of depends if they're really, really hardcore organic. And again, understand this is only 0.5 EC, 250 ppm that you're using right at the second to last week, at least 3 waterings. Short answer is absolutely. And I actually have a lot of people that reuse their soil and also do full organic situations. Reason being, like I said before, can be kind of tough to gauge how much food may be left in your bed or your potted situation. So Winter Frost can be there to help tell the plant, hey, time to finish up, move it along. Let's finesse. Let's finish off. So wonderful for organic production as well.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. And a lot of people find that happy medium with it. And, if you want to dabble with that Synganics, then that's definitely something that you guys can do. Dabble with the Synganics and get into it, man. And that's perfect.
You got to start somewhere is kind of the way I always look at it, So, winter's a great place to do it.
The great thing is that a lot of people say organics brings out the best taste, the best flavor, yada, 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 all that stuff. But a lot of people also back synthetics real strong, and they love the consistency of it. and you can get the best of both worlds. So why not try the Synganics?
Well, sure. And again, I mean, it's funny, but I go back and, one of my friends used to be like, you know what? I just love old school GH weed. And he goes, I'm not saying it's better. He goes, that's for me, that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
So you're talking, so now all of a sudden nostalgia can get brought into it as well.
True.
Okay. So like, and it's like maybe all of a sudden you hit some terpene that's like something that you've only had on one place on the island when you were there at this one. And it was just like, is it everybody's favorite? Well, not necessarily, but it like hit some trigger in you, taste and smell are very, very, very strong ties to memory. I think smell is the strongest tie to memory.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And it's super subjective, man. Because like now I will grow a fucking bag seed and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this smells like that bag seed I grew back in 2016. Like, and it's crazy. Yeah. Or smell something else that smells like that,
Yeah. And so for somebody, if it triggers that memory, like that's going to be a whole different experience, because it could be bringing back whatever, I mean, for me, I've got, without going into a lot of detail, like some interesting stories about Jack and that coming into my life at different times. And like, and they all have a really interesting story that then ties together. And, honestly, I could almost do a whole podcast on this one story, but we're not today. We're not going to do it today. If somebody wants to maybe ask on the Jug Dealers podcast, and we'll get into it. The stories of Jack.
Yeah. Stories of Jack. But check them out though. They got a great pod. Oh man, but dude, honestly, like so many great things, and I gotta ask you guys to smash that like button, man. We got over 250 people tuned in, and we have not got 250 likes. So what's going on, man? And as Mr. Awesome Badass said, if you guys don't hit that like, your plan's gonna hurt them out. So you gotta make sure to hit that like so your plants don't.
You don't want that bad luck. You don't want it.
You don't want it. Don't want it. Straight up, you don't want it, man. And I actually got a great question coming in from Surf Sin, man. Surf Sin is asking a slew of great questions, so I'm gonna ask all three of them at once, man. It's actually two of them. So the first one, where does he buy New Millennium in Fort Collins?
Well, that's a man. So unfortunately, as we just got done discussing, Way to Grow is no longer open there, and I would have said Way to Grow. Damn. So that is unfortunate. I would say, and I don't know, they might have to special order it for you, but it looks like I'm gonna have to lean on them a little bit more. Let's lean on community. Help me out here on this one. Yeah. Let's go over to Mountain Lion Garden Supply in LaPorte, Colorado. And go tell AJ.
Let's see how we can support.
Go tell AJ.
Go tell AJ.
What you need. You tell him I sent you. But honestly, right now, that's probably the best spot in Fort Collins. You might be able to go if you're in South Fort Collins or North Loveland. There is a grow shop down there. Those guys definitely have an account with me as well. With probably special order as well. But if you have any trouble, please reach out to me. I'll make sure you're taken care of. You can find me on Instagram, Jaron, JERIN _H_. I think you'll find it. Not a lot of Jarons out there.
Drop it on there for you guys for sure. And yeah, man. And also, the second question was, hey Matt, do you pee in your water here in Colorado using organic soil? And then I realized I think he meant pH.
I was thinking, well, I definitely pee in my outdoor perennial plants. I'm not gonna lie there. Yeah, I'm giving them a little free juice on the weekends when
free juice.
When I've had a few too many, maybe.
None of the Jug Dealer stuff.
Yeah. No, it's pre-processed.
Yeah.
Okay, pH. pH is always a good idea just for availability, aspects. I actually read a very interesting study one time that Blue Lab did that showed how important pH consistency is. Not even that, and obviously anybody that's seen the chart, we know 6.8 or whatever, and we say anywhere from 5.8 to 6.5 with New Millennium to really maximize availability of the nutrients that mean the most to cannabis. If you see it on a general chart, it's going to say 6.8 right down the middle, but that doesn't necessarily account for cannabis as much. Right. And cannabis is obviously going to be tweaked slightly from that. So anyway, I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs here, but anywhere kind of in that range. But they did a really cool study that was all the way from 4 pH all the way up to 9 pH, I believe. And they did it every half, and they had a control that just they didn't pH at all. Yeah. And even the 4 or the 9 consistently given that did better than the non-pH control group.
That's
so
crazy to think of.
What that tells you is, no, I can't give it 4 today and 9 tomorrow and 7 the next day and 9 again. But if you give it something consistently, it's going to work with that plant. Again, keep in mind, folks, plants are incredible. And in fact, if you really want to, if you want some trippy shit, go read The Secret Life of Plants, and it will blow your mind. I promise you. So if you want to get any idea of just how powerful these things are, so understand they can adjust. They maybe not can't adjust as fast as we can, like they can't juke and jive and run around or whatever, right? But they can adjust, and they're very adaptable, and they're incredibly powerful and smart, and even sentient, believe it or not. Read the book, check it out.
Like, dude, don't get it messed up, because like literally your plants even know like when they're asleep, like when the lights are off, like you go and peek inside your tent and you'll see all the leaves just down, like it's literally asleep. It knows, it senses these things.
People, it knows what's going on, and it even goes much, much deeper than that, than what we can even, see. There's a whole level, I believe a whole other dimension of their level of understanding of the world around them and their even relationship with people. Another very interesting book that I always suggest for people is, The Botany of Desire, which Michael Pollan is a phenomenal writer, and that book just really talks at its base level of like, who's controlling who. Are we controlling the plants, or are they controlling us?
Exactly.
And it's based on 4 basic human desires, which is sweetness, intoxication, beauty, and sustenance, which is apples, potatoes. So it's apples for sweetness, potatoes for sustenance, cannabis for intoxication, tulips for beauty. Very, very interesting way to look at it in our relationship with plants. And I think it will help a lot of people potentially look at things a little bit differently. It even goes back to what I say about being a plant janitor, and that, we're not growing shit.
Yeah, the plants have been doing this for years before we came
they're manipulating us. But understand, they're octoploids, we're diploids, right?
Yeah.
So they even have 8 sets of genes, and that's minimum. That's on average. Some even have more, 12, 16, all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And that gives them an amazing ability, especially as an annual plant, to go back within its genetic library and turn genes on and off and pick and choose and come back at it. So really interesting, even example of that is like with tomatoes that you can see like in a place like here in Colorado. So let's say that, which I am, let's say I'm from the Midwest, and I brought a variety that I really liked in the Midwest, and I brought it out here and I planted it in Fort Collins, and it did shitty. But I grabbed the one good tomato I got it off that year.
Yeah.
And then I took it last year and I planted those seeds again. And now, not great necessarily second year, but clearly doing a little bit better. By third, fourth, fifth year, you've actually got something that's a viable plant that you've moved several thousand feet uphill, essentially, into a very different, from a humid to a very arid, from a acidic to a very basic soil system, all these things. And you're allowing the plant to just be a plant and do its thing, go back into its library.
Yeah, man, that is amazing, especially when you break it down like that. It's so true. And I love what you said previously as well, about the consistency, just having that consistency. Your plants don't like the fluctuation as much, and they're very sensitive to these things, man. So shout out to you on some of that stuff, because as everyone in the chat is saying, we've gotten some great information right now in the show. So shout out to the jug dealer himself, man. Shout out to John.
Oh, thank you guys very much. I really enjoy stuff like this too, just kind of getting out. And again, for me, this stuff is as much about connecting with people and what their questions have. We do a lot of borderline consulting, and I do that just because I want people to be successful. This is an amazing plant, and I also like to talk about plants in general, because I also don't like people to think, oh, it's just cannabis. Cannabis is a C3 photoperiodic plant that has some amazing chemical properties that we've accentuated over minimum 4,000 to 6,000 years. The word cannabis is one of the oldest unchanged words ever in language, period.
Facts.
Okay.
That's like the oldest word.
And why is that, right? It's very interesting, and I have an answer to this, by the way, but I didn't originally have an answer to that when I was first told this, and I had to go look it up. And it is like, well, why? Because let's think about what was weed called in the 70s versus the 80s versus the 90s versus today versus last year.
True.
All of a sudden, and all throwing out, the kids are doing these days. It's like, when I used to talk about gas, it actually meant like diesel weed. You'd say, like, I was like, ooh, that shit's gassy, as in like it smelled like petrol. Yeah. Now, that's gas. And fuck, this is all gas,
everything
I guess.
Here is gas. Literally everything on this table right now is gas, bro.
So, okay, so that happens very quickly. Well, if you trade between cultures, and if you trade things between cultures, which cannabis was heavily traded between cultures, I may not speak the same language as you, but if you say cannabis and I know cannabis,
know
we
exactly
we
what
can
it is.
trade cannabis, right?
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
it was a traded commodity in ancient times, and that's why it's such an old, ancient, and regal and official name, and that's why it didn't change.
Yeah, perfect, man. That is so true, man. It's just an old school name. And one other thing that would not change is the fact that we always give back to this community, man. So shout out to everyone in the chat right now. Big ups to hipsters and hippies who just hop back in on the live. Shout out to everyone in the ICANN fam. But guys, we got a giveaway right here with a bunch of stuff, man. Jared came with a big box. So let's get this giveaway cranking, man. What we're going to do is pull up on screen right now the giveaway screen where you guys will be able to see exactly what you guys need to do to enter. It's only for the people that are on the live right now. We got almost 300 people tuned in. So we want to give back to everyone that's tuned in right now. So all you guys got to do is drop that hashtag jug dealers in the chat right now, and you guys will be entered. That's all you guys got to do. Because what we doing out here is dealing these jugs, right?
Just dealing jugs.
Dealing these jugs. J-U-G.
J-U-G-S. J-U-G-S.
The stuff that we
JGS.
put lemonade in. Okay, YouTube? Yeah, that's what we do. Selling a
YouTube.
bunch of juice.
YouTube.
Don't get it twisted. We're selling juice.
They're selling juice.
So all you guys got to do is drop it in the comments and drop that hashtag drug dealers, and you guys will be automatically entered. You don't need to do triple entries. It doesn't get you more than one entry. You can only do it. You only need to do it once, man.
One and done. One and done.
One and done. So now Cap Dank is asking a great question, man. I think we can probably get into this because this is probably one that you can answer while these entries are coming in. So
absolutely.
Cap Dank is asking, what is the shelf life on the products? Like, how long can you expect them to last?
Yep.
For?
Great question. Really common question. I mean, obviously, and this is going to be a pretty standard answer, you need to store them properly, cool, dark place outside your grow room, things like that, especially if they're closed and not open, easily, 3+ years. If you've opened them, I would say within a year, 18 months or so of opening them. And that's going to be pretty standard across. Yeah. You can get contamination over times. We do have biostimulants that are in there, which means that there are things that will even, stabilize at a low pH or a high pH for that matter. Gotcha. And so that certain microbes aren't actively growing once they are exposed to air and things like that. Yeah. That changes. They become alive, which is a good thing. But, over time you can, potentially, especially with heat issues and things like that, get things that were normally, wonderful, lovely aerobic bacteria and anaerobic bacteria, which is something we don't want to do.
Yeah, so true, man. That is real true. And I found that a lot of people, they're just a little bit hesitant to, maybe get into it. But once you get into it, like all these fairs literally just wade away, man. And as hipsters and hippies says, dude, literally you should get Jug Life tattooed across your head. I'm about to do. So yeah, dude. I hope I didn't mess that screen up right there. I may have. But while we get that absolutely started, man, then let us know. Yeah, if you guys can actually still see what's going on. Everything looks pretty funny, man. Pretty funky. But yeah. So also we got another question which has come in while we get that sorted out. Which is and he said, well, this is more of a statement, but which I tend to agree with. Indoor organic is not the most efficient way to grow, and that's simply because you will need like some of those big pots and stuff like that. And if you're growing indoors, it may not be the best way to go about stuff. So that's why a lot of people either go synthetic indoors or they go with the Synganic approach. If you really want to get into it.
I think that's a very accurate statement. I'm not saying that you can't do it. I just think it's a little more the path of least resistance by going the non-organic route or Synganic route indoors.
Exactly. And I think I would agree with that, man. It's a path of least resistance. And trust me, guys, I've tried it both ways, and I'm tired of having to deal with those cow mag issues or any of those issues, especially if you're growing in cocoa. The biggest turning point for me, Jaron, personally, was when I went into all cocoa. I was like, okay, I'm running pure cocoa and perlite. And I tried to do the organic thing, organic top dress. And man, it was a constant battle, dude. I needed to hit up my jug dealer homies and get myself on some of these jugs, man. That's true. Where I made my mistake.
It's true. And if you really think about it, these lines are highly blended. There's a lot of thought process, a lot of R&D that goes behind them. I know originally I used to use probably, stuff from 5 or 7 different companies. In reality, there was probably a lot of overlap there. There's probably a lot of things that I didn't need, or whatever. And I've gotten much more on the thought process these times. It's like, hey, get on. If you trust the company, get onto their program. If you have a couple additives that like you just really love and have to have, like a couple, bacterias or things like that, no problem. We're definitely, can put some other things on top, but we're never going to oversell you. If it's something that's doubling up, we're going to say, hey, no need to put that in there. Drop that out. Just use this product instead.
Yeah.
We're growers ourselves, so we're always very cognizant of that. So we're not, you can shear a sheep many times. You can only skin it once.
Exactly, man. And I love that. There's so many great sayings and such great knowledge you've dropped on the show so far, dude. So, guys, definitely smash that like. We have to see how many likes we can get on this before the show is actually done. And before the show is actually done, we're actually going to do that giveaway as well. So get your entries in, drop that hashtag drug dealers in. And real quick, I want to run through the Know Your Bud segment because last time we did this, we did not have some of the updated questions. So I wanted to hit some of the updated questions real quick on the Know Your Bud segment. And like I always say, Jared, the Know Your Bud segment, just a real quick fire segment. I ask you a few questions. It's like multiple choice almost. Back in school when you had that multiple choice sheet. You just tell me what's your preference and why. Right? So for the new ones, man, when it comes to like your plant training, how do you prefer to train your plants? Do you go with a hands-off approach or a hands-on approach?
I go with a very hands-on approach. Yeah. I mean, I double trellis and I do a heavy day 20 prune and defan.
Yeah, I got you, man. A strong prune and defan. Okay, let's keep it going real quick. Next one though is a pretty controversial one. Photo periods or autoflowers?
I'm a photo guy. As I see Night Owl, and that's somebody I always point. And shout out to Night Owl. I always point people in that direction. He actually just I see all the bunch of great stickers over here.
Awesome.
He actually just sent me a care package, and thank you very much for that. And so I do have some autos that are in my collection at this point. But I've always been a photo guy, and I'll be honest, I'm more of a card collector when it comes to beans, meaning. Yeah. I usually get
you don't even have to get into it any further.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay, now the next one though, dry trim or wet trim? What type of guy are you?
So I know this one can be polarizing. And I even honestly, one of my favorite one of my favorite memes ever was by Coma. And it was it was like you're at the doctor's office and asked if there was any history of mental illness.
Yeah.
And it basically said no. Oh, actually, I have a cousin that still wet trims.
Oh my God, bro.
So it was cold.
None.
It was cold as shit. So anyway, and I say that by saying I wet trim. So okay, so y'all can take it or leave it. This is all wet trimmed. I mean,
and this looks fucking amazing, dude.
Is,
damn, I would have never thought.
Part of it's just convenience. Wow. You know what I mean? So I do one trim on it. I get it down. I'll buck it down, do a single trim on it. Then I'll hang it in branches. From there, I buck it down into buckets with gamma lids, and that's where it stays until moments like these.
Yeah.
So I'm a wet trimmer. I mean, I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm a wet trimmer.
Wet trimmer, man. That's no problem at all. And by the looks of this stuff, dude, that wet trim is doing something right.
It's okay, right?
Yeah, it's definitely okay. It's more than okay if I'm gonna be honest with you, man.
I just loved that meme though because it made me laugh so hard because I wet trim.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I do have a cousin that still wet trims. Anyway, shout out to all the wet trimmers. Although dry trimming, honestly, I've seen some wonderful, wonderful product, and I get it.
Yeah.
And especially in Colorado, trying to slow things down. One of the reasons I don't like doing it's very messy.
Yeah, it is. It's super messy. You get tons of fucking trim.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So I just didn't want to be a polarizing figure there, but
yeah, no, that's cool. It's good. But the next question can be a little bit more, unique to you. So when it comes to your munchies, dude, do you like the salty or the sweet?
Ooh, wow.
Where are you going? When you go in, you eat 7-Eleven at 8 at night, man.
Right. Well, I mean, you're forgetting one other thing though. Spicy,
bruh.
So I mean, I'm like the red chili pistachios. Bro.
Bro.
So some spicy Chex. The wife had some spicy Chex mix from Trader Joe's the other day. I was mowing on that shit. So I would have to say I'm spicy.
Yeah. Okay. I got you, man. I like that.
I know that was the third one that wasn't given as a choice, but I made it a choice.
Nah, it's cool. It's cool. That's all good. It's all about finding out more about you, man. So that's the beautiful thing about it. And this next one, if you had one choice, right, you could only smoke one this today or tomorrow, whatever the case is. You could only smoke once, dude. Are you taking a nightcap or a morning wake and bake?
Wow, that is
nightcap or wake and bake.
I think
wake and bake.
I think probably wake and bake. To be honest with you, I love that. that morning smoke. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Got to start off the day right, dude.
You know, so I'd say Irie in the morning.
Yeah, Irie in the morning. That's the stuff. All righty, man. And the last one, dude. I love this one because, like, 20-year-old you busts through that door right now, man. He's looking at us right now. All right, he's younger than us, and he's got everything going on, man. And he looks at you and he's like, dude, can you outsmoke me? You think you currently are outsmoking 20-year-old you, or 20-year-old you is outsmoking you right now?
Oh no, I'm smoking. I'm definitely winning that battle. 40-year-old me is beating 20-year-old me. 20-year-old me didn't have near the access to these genetics. I'll tell you that right now. He'd be on his ass.
I love that, dude. Oh man, that's fucking hilarious, bro. Let me catch myself after that one. Oh, that was some of the new questions that I brought on, man, and I just really wanted to ask you, man, and help all the viewers get to know you a little bit better, man.
Absolutely, no, it's that I find those type of questions to be fun,
Yeah, dude, I love them too, man. I love them as well.
And they were a little bit different. They're not the common like, what's your favorite strain?
Yeah.
What if you had to smoke one strain ever?
Yeah.
Which are fine, which are great questions. I just answered them many times. They're predictable questions, which I have answers to them as well. But
I try to bring something new.
Yeah, this is new. I like it.
Dude. Oh man, so guys, that's it for the Know Your Buds segment. Shout out to that, man. It always is great to have Jaron on for the Know Your Buds. But as we said, that giveaway is running, so hit that hashtag drug dealers, because what we're going to do is run over to the screen right now. Almost 100 people have entered in the giveaway. We've got over 270 people tuned in. So if you guys snooze, you lose. That's all I'm gonna say. Better chances for someone who's on the live to win it. Oh, those numbers are going up quick. Okay, so let's get on into it.
Yeah, and we've got a variety of things to give away too. Like I said, 5-8 being a distributor, we've got everything from pesticides from a Cytetics brand. We've got the full New Millennium stuff. We've got we brought the Carbo. I brought the trilogy. So we like to call it the Carbo Ruby Winter. Yeah.
What's the russet?
So russet, that's a botanical extract that's specific to russet mites, broad mites, spider mites, things like that. Wow. I don't think there's anything out there on the market that's actually marketed with russet in the name.
Bro, that is wild.
It's used in conjunction with the multi. The multi is another botanical extract, both 25B. They're used flip-flop in conjunction with the EcoWorks that I've left here as well. EcoWorks is really, that's more of our surfactant. It's a spreader sticker. It's from EcoWorks. It's cold pressed neem. It's got a little bit of micronutrients. It's got a little bit of nitrogen in there as well. So the plants really do like it. They kind of feel like it's a little bit of a fuller feed as well. So that's used in a 1-to-3 ratio with the multi, with the russet, and you just flip-flop. So it's kind of its own IPM program in a one.
That is
so
good, man.
If people are having some best issues and stuff like that, reach out, let us know. We've got one set, that we can definitely give away today. And, maybe we could give away some other sets if people are really interested. So
that's what's up. So guys, let's get into this giveaway and let's do that draw, because like I said, somebody's going to win this and it's going to be awesome, man. So let's hit that draw. We got it up on screen right now so you guys can see. We got it big and bold for everyone. So let's hit that.
Can't miss it.
Can't miss it, bro. Can't miss it. So drum roll, please. And the winner of this draw is going to be the one and only. It's Derek Dusing. Shout out to Derek Dusing, man.
Derek Dusing.
Big ups to Derek, man. You've won yourself a fantastic package from New Millennium. We're going to make sure to get that out for you. So what you're going to need to do is send me an email to ICANN-THC Seed Club so that I can get your information and we can verify that and we can get that out to you, man. So yeah, hit me up, man, and congratulations, man. Much appreciated, man, and congrats to you, man. The amount of jug dealers I saw in this chat right now, bro, it's actually pretty.
Thank
crazy.
you all for the support. Again, we're a small independent, so really we do depend on support from you guys. It's a bottom up kind of thing. We're we've been in this for a long time. Let's just say we've been in this before legalization. So we've been at it for a while. So appreciate all the support from everybody.
Hell yeah, man. And that's what's up, man. So definitely check them out, guys. They got some great things going on. And, always here to support the local fam, man. And, straight out of Colorado, that's what I love to hear, man. So definitely. So appreciate everyone that's in the chat right now also. So shout out to everyone that's in the chat. And also shout out and congratulations once again to that winner. Derek, don't forget to send me that email so I can get that sorted off.
Send the info.
Send the info, brother. I love that deep voice, man. We got to do that more often. But for sure, dude. I think that we touched on a lot of different things, Jaron. Like, from organic, synthetics, even Synganics, and just some of the great benefits of incorporating some of the new millennium stuff, even if you're an organic grower. Because straight up, some of this fire that I got on the table right now, the Jaron, bro, dude. It's crazy. So, guys, definitely check them out. But, Jaron, before we actually close out, for a lot of people who want to get in touch with you, find out what you guys got going on, maybe just ask you some questions about how they can incorporate New Millennium into the setup.
Yeah.
How can they do that, bro?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is probably the easiest place. You can either do Jaron _H_. You can shoot me an email as well. It'll just be Jaron. That's JERIN at 58.com. That's PHIVE, the number 8.com. That's probably the best two ways, to be honest with you. So
okay,
and I do respond. Maybe not always immediately, but I definitely respond. I mean, again, I really do try and make myself available because everybody's got questions. We want to help make people successful. If we help people be successful, then guess what? They turn around and help me be successful. I very much believe in if we all do well, we all do well.
Yeah, for
sure. You know what I mean?
It's teamwork makes the dream work kind of thing, baby.
We're all in this together. And so, yeah, absolutely 100%. So, I'll even tell you, it's funny because there's a lot of times where I'll talk about other products that I don't sell positively, right?
Yeah.
I got a bunch of friends in this industry that work for a bunch of different companies.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't really sell it? I was like, yeah, but I know it's a product and I know it's a good product. And I'm here to be honest with you.
That's the thing. We always like being straight with you guys. And so many growers talk about New Millennium and the great stuff that they're doing. So definitely check them out, guys. Show some love. Hit that like button. Definitely hit that like button on your way out. Don't forget to show some love to New Millennium as well. Let them know the ICANN fam is out here supporting. So, Jaron, any last words before we close off?
No, man. It's just been a pleasure being here. Thanks a bunch. It's always fun to burn down and connect to the community. And we'll catch you guys next time around. Come and see us at the Jug Dealers podcast.
Hell yeah.
Out now.
Definitely check them out on the Jug Dealers podcast. They got some great stuff going on. And we always appreciate and show love to the fam that show loves with us, man. So definitely check them out. Let them know the ICANN fam is supporting. But don't forget, before we close off, stay high and stay motherfucking fly. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Later. Catch you guys next time.
Finish him.